How's it going, guys? Welcome to WHOIS. Today we have Smithy. How you getting on, man?
Yeah, good man. Thank you for having me.
Easy. So tell us a bit. Who is Smithy? What does he do? That sort of thing.
I can't lie, I just drawn a book. Nah, man. I design clothes. I'm the owner of Deathbed, a luxury line.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of all I do.
Nice.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about the clothes that you make. What sort of thing? Like, what inspires you to make those sort of clothes and that sort of thing?
So I mean, I've kind of stepped away from my brand for like 2 years. So I started doing streetwear at the beginning, but kind of what to refine myself and bring more of me into the brand. So I took a step back, especially with like working things. I didn't have as much time.
Yeah.
But it gave me the opportunity to kind of just expand on myself and what I actually wanted to say with the brand. So I looked for inspiration through like people around me is like the biggest thing, especially like my dad, who he doesn't really know it, but he's inspired a lot of like the pieces that I've created, especially where I'm stepping to now with like the leathers, the biking stuff, just because he had a bike when he was younger, so and now I've got one now, so it makes sense, you know, to take that step toward the leather. And you know, he's obsessed with like rock music and that. So seeing all the people that he used to go concerts and see, and like looking at their styles, it's definitely, you know, a massive inspiration. Yeah. So yeah, sick.
And you said you kind of took a step back. Was that to kind of just focus on what you're doing, or is it more the brand, or is it like just other different things that kind of?
To be fair, I think it was just life. Like it got like very full on all at once. Not the brand per se, but just like just know personal stuff in the background. So it was taking a step to kind of, you know, sort that stuff first. Before like fully focusing. And I think it gave me a lot more structure behind my brand before it even, you know, is stepping onto that new stage, which it's exciting. I can't lie. Like it looks good.
It's looking up. Yeah,
it is.
What sort of stuff do you kind of have like in the near future then? Like you obviously said you moved away from kind of typical streetwear to more leather and stuff like that sort of thing.
So it's just kind of what I look to do now is more like high end, kind of silhouettes, materials. Just because it's more of an interest to me. I'm not saying like I'm disregarding streetwear whatsoever, because that still holds a massive place in my heart. Like, especially like what you wear on the daily basis. Most of the time, I'm sitting in like a trackie. I've not made one yet, but I still will in the future. Do you know what I mean? I'm not stepping away from that fully. It's just where my focus is now. I'd like to like actually design things like step by step from all the measurements, from like, you know, selection of everything. Like that's
really handcrafted stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like even though I can't sew, my boys that can sew, you lot got it.
And even obviously you've got a sketch pad as well, and I feel like since the day that I met you, I've been seeing the sketch pad, and I feel like it's something that you hold dear to you. That's like
this
all
is
your designs and stuff.
This is literally like there's another one in my bag, which is like the very first one. This is like the second, where it's all kind of more like refined. My drawings have increased like massively in like depth and things like that. The first one is so funny. I was looking at it this morning. All my notes when I started, and it's like, how to set up on Company's House, all this type of thing. And I was like, and it's like, it's just funny to see where that is to where I am now. It's insane, and that's only been like 2 years. So, little Charlie, he was working, man. he was
putting in the effort, putting in the graft.
Yeah, literally.
So, like, why a sketchbook? Like, how come it's instead of maybe like typical, maybe like Photoshop or like Illustrator? Why a sketchbook?
True. I'm just pretty terrible at digital art. I can't lie. Like, there's not really any hiding from that either. Like, I have always typically had like a pencil and paper in hand from like young. Like, I've always drawn. So it's just the most natural thing to me. And the thing is, even if I draw it here, I can take a picture of it and then, you know, put it in Illustrator. Just draw around it on Illustrator. That's what I do most of the time. So if I'm comfortable enough doing it like that, then I don't see why I need to, you know, do all these digital designs when a lot of people do it, but I'm still able to put across what I need. Within the sketchbook. Within the book. So I think there's not really a point for me to you know, kind of disadvantage myself by doing something I'm not good at when
it still works either way.
Exactly. And the results from the sketchbook, they speak for themselves. So
solid. I'm not gonna lie, solid.
Yes, sir.
And you recently, one of your most recent pieces is like a leather jacket with kind of like a, like is it 50 cal?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
50 caliber bullet.
And I've just noticed you take a lot of inspiration from kind of like military as well. Like,
yeah.
Is there a specific reason as to why, or kind of?
I just, in all like reality, war and shit is garbage. Like it's always just, it's so sad that I wanted to kind of make something beautiful out of it. So the like the 50 cal, all that stuff, like there's whole backstories to each piece, but you know, it's dropping at the end of the month. I don't know when this is releasing, but I'm gonna have like a whole form. If you want to read about like each product and where the inspiration came from for each piece, it's going to be on there. So I'm not going to say too much about it because I've described it a lot better in writing. So, but yeah, no, it's just, it's so dark in terms of like the you know the meanings behind them that I try to bring light to that.
Fair enough. Even like, not necessarily related, but I was actually talking recently to Attack on Titan. I don't know if you've watched that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was saying that like it's quite a bleak show, but then a lot of people have said similar to what you just said there, that like it's very bleak and very dark, but there's also very almost like a silver lining to it.
Yeah.
Within that bleakness. Would you say that's kind of a similar concept?
Yeah, 100%.
So
Attack on Titan is dark though.
That's the thing. Like I don't know. I've only just started, right? So I don't know how much it gets, but I've heard it gets quite.
How far through?
Literally like halfway through the first season. Like I'm barely through anything. I'll be honest. So, well, by the reaction, clearly I've got a lot to catch up on. So.
I mean, you're in for a treat.
Okay,
Jeez.
fair enough. Guess we'll cross everything together, innit? So yeah, and even like, so you come from like a bit more like, would it be fair to say like in the sticks to some extent?
Yeah.
How have you found that experience, like being a creative in those areas? Like, is it been a bit of a challenge, or is it not really that different?
I think, it's challenging. It's challenging. I won't say that it's not, but it's not like it's gonna hold me back. I always had that mindset where I thought it was gonna be like something that I'd have to like really, really struggle to get out there. But if you're making something that people, you know, resonate with, it's gonna find the right people no matter what. Like, it doesn't matter if I was in like Timbuktu or like wherever, you know, it will make it out to the right people if you know, if you are making something that deserves to be seen. So yeah, I think that's the only thing. But at first, and I was like, oh no, it's gonna be so hard to get, which is still true in a sense, because there's not as much of a like defined scene up here for fashion and clothing. Like, if you go down south, like London, they've got fashion weeks as one of the major like capitals. Everyone knows where that is. Paris, Milan, like they're all known for their fashion. You're not really looking at Scotland and being like,
that's a fashion capital.
Exactly. So it's kind of just, but then again, it gives you like a chance to kind of mold this space like ourselves and like be the foundation for it. So there's pros and cons to everything in it, but I don't mind it. I don't mind it.
Fair enough. Just because I have other friends as well, like a good friend of mine, Lewis, he comes from a place that's a bit more further out as well. And he said that for him specifically it was quite challenging because, like, for example, he'd be going to talk to his friends in school about certain things, like, I don't know, like things that maybe up there are not as common, like like cultural, like pop culture type stuff, and they'd be like, what are you talking about? And sometimes not even understand, but even slate him for being the way that he is. You're trying to say
harsh.
Like that is harsh. Saying, like, imagine you grow up in an area where, like, I don't know, you're, let's say hypebeast where you're wearing all this stuff and everyone's like, what the hell are you wearing?
The thing is, like, I definitely am a bit of an oddball in like my town, because like even when I was in school, like in my like 5th and 6th year, I was like, you know what, I got to the point where I just couldn't be arsed with people, like couldn't care what they thought. So every week I had like a different buzz cut with a different colour, and it was kind of mad. But stepping into that, and then lockdown came on, so I had more time to myself to just kind of be on my own. I think that really actually developed my style and like personal style as well. So a lot of people said that they don't like lockdown. I didn't mind it. I'll be honest with you, like,
the first month of lockdown, same as you, like, I feel like it was the first time I'd had time to just be like, oh, I can just sit and just do stuff that's not that's not necessarily work related, and necessarily like I need to do it, or like it's like time intention or anything like that. So for me, the first month or first couple months was just time for me to just chill, like you said, maybe get a bit more crave. Like I was messing on Photoshop a lot. Like every day I'd just be sitting around and that stuff like that. So yeah, definitely 100%.
Not true.
Do you feel like you need that time out to kind of be able to be creative, or are you more like you enjoy the hustle and bustle that kind of gives you inspiration? Fulfills you,
I like both sides, because sometimes you get inspiration and you just want to sit in the quiet and not let anyone kind of sway that flow. Other times when I've been like, especially down south, like London time, going down into the city, sitting with like a sketch pad and drawing when everything is going on around you gets kind of insane. It's just, it depends what mood I'm in. But I can work pretty much everywhere.
So just kind of depends on,
it just depends where I am, and like you take different inspiration from those different places, because
I understand.
in the quiet most of the time you're taking inspiration from yourself, but like when it's so busy, usually you're picking out on something, like if someone's just walked past with this like massive duffel or something, you're like, okay, cool, let me see what I can do with a duffel bag.
Let's cook some things up.
Because it's that visual kind of cues. But
I feel like even me, like I think that's why I like traveling. One of the things I like about traveling so much is that the idea that like you just see stuff that you might not necessarily see in your day to day. And it kind of sometimes, depending on what you see, obviously it just sparks something in you. Okay, that's kind of interesting. And especially if you're someone who's in like a creative field, you can then take that into other places. Or into other things that you do. So
nah, that's fair. I'd love to do some more traveling, but as of right now, straight jug.
The work comes first. Work comes first.
Nah, literally.
Yeah, traveling is it's definitely a bit of a luxury, I think, for sure. Like depending on, especially obviously where you're going and stuff 100%. Like that as well. So where would you travel if you had the opportunity?
See, even that's a good question. I've not even looked to like see locations that I'd like to go, because I know I'm not ready to go and travel yet.
You're right.
Not even that, like I've been like too locked in a little bit. Like sometimes you need to take a step back and like see where you can actually go. But I saw you went Morocco. That looked insane. So even there,
honestly, I'm a big advocate for Morocco. I think like it's probably like it's far enough that like you're seeing different things, but also still feels like, especially as someone who comes from Africa already, it still feels like home to some extent.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's a lot of things that are relatable. There's also a lot of things that are kind of like, oh, that's pretty different.
How was the sun?
Bro, I'm walking out in a t-shirt and shorts. And see, the day that I landed back in the UK, I was literally wearing a t-shirt and shorts that morning. Went out for brunch. It was fantastic. I was having a good time. Got on the plane. I'm freezing.
Dark.
We've not even landed yet. I'm freezing.
Dark.
We land, 0 degrees. I said, yeah, cool. It was 28 this morning. 28 by then. I said, yeah, cool. Man. It is what it is.
True.
It just means I have to go back, basically. So that means I have to go back. So I'm not gonna complain when I trip to Morocco. I'm not gonna say no to that. So
I hear that.
So obviously, like you're Scottish creative through and through, so, for now. But do you still see yourself being part of the Scottish community for the long run, or is it something that you kind of maybe move away from?
I think in terms of like building here, it's been nice, but I do definitely see like the benefits of moving out, because like especially the like we're talking about scene, especially like my clothing definitely fits a certain like aesthetic, and up in Scotland there's not much going with that.
Of that aesthetic.
Not saying that like people don't wear it, but you know, I'd like to be around the crowds that are actively like, actively like repping it, and even getting like artists seen in the pieces. Like I've already had E-Man in the red set, so it's not out yet. Will be
soon. When you're watching this, it will be.
But so it's nice to see that kind of scene, like enjoying the pieces that I'm making. Especially, I think that it's definitely a style catered towards that. Not to say that anyone can't wear it, but it definitely does fit that whole kind of that vibe with it. So
like certain people gravitate towards it more.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm saying London for E-Man. He's not even from London, but do you know what I mean? Like that whole kind of that wave of underground music is definitely something that's pretty inspiring as well. So yeah, man, I probably will move. I probably will at some point.
Fair enough. I feel at the end of the day, like as good as it is to maybe like certain places, you kind of have to, as if you're trying to run a business and stuff like that, or even just like trying to make money from your art, you kind of at some point do have to shift with the times or shift with whatever is going on.
Literally.
I mean? Like, so.
And it's not saying that I can't do that from here, but it's like the it's more simple to go to events and be around these places if you're nearby. Like I'm not having to plan 3 months down the line to like just go to this one thing. Do you know what I mean? It's like you get the call up from like whoever, and you're on the doorstep already. Do you know what I mean?
Generally,
so I'm not taking the 12-hour night bus down.
My God.
That
bus. I remember like
it's killer.
When I was younger, my mum was like, "Oh, we'll go to London to see our auntie or something." I said, "Cool, nice. Should we get in the bus?" So in my head, I'm thinking, "Oh, cool, like shouldn't be too crazy, right?" The train, I know the train's about 7-6 hours, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
Overnight bus. Tell me why we get on this bus. By the time we get off, it'd been like 13 hours, and I was sitting there, I was like,
"That wasn't a direct one,
bro."
Then.
I looked at my mum and I said, "See what we just did there?
Yeah.
Let's never do that
Never.
again. Let's never do that again." And even she said, "Yeah, I can't lie, never do that again."
Yeah.
Because it just takes too long. So I get what you mean, like. If someone shouts you for an event, you can't then be like, "Oh, just give me 13 hours."
I'll
be there soon. I'll be like 13 hours.
It's like, and I'm not up yet where I can just go and catch a flight like every now and then.
Bro,
do you know what I mean?
Those flights are not cheap.
Yeah.
Man. Especially if you're like, say, we're taking like garments with you.
Exactly. So you got to check that in. It's not like I can just, unless I wear like 3 jackets, I'm boarding the plane like this.
Again, to be fair, I've done that before. Do not advise that.
Yeah,
do not advise that.
It's
Yeah,
hot,
I'll
man.
be honest. It's not
hot.
good. And obviously, I see you got quite a bit of tattoos as well. Like, do you feel the tattoos necessarily play into the creativity, or is it just more like a way of expressing yourself as well?
I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to cover them all up at one point.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, but no, I like what I've got going on just now. But yeah, no, you can be creative like in any kind of avenue, and like I think skin's just another one. Like my skin. Well, actually, lambskin, cow skin. As well, they make some good jackets. But nah, like tattoos in general is just like a way of expressing yourself, and I'll never like see someone with a tattoo and be like, "Oh, why would you do that?" Because it's not my body. Like I don't really care. So if someone looks at me in some sort of way, it's like,
so be it. Yeah.
What can I do? What can I did it to myself. It's not like I'm asking you to like black out a limb or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So, I just take tattooing as it comes, and it's like. If I want a piece that I like and it has some sort of like meaning towards, I'm gonna go grab it.
I feel like I'm into a lot of different things, but even in those things, I feel like there are ways I express myself, whether it be the clothes I'm wearing, whether it be that. Even for example, we were talking about a podcast, my last podcast with Zyme, even like cars, for example, the car that you have and the way that you feel around this car, even like yourself, the bikes, all that sort of stuff, like your bike culture.
Yeah.
It's just different ways of it. Even like I used to have a skateboard that had like stickers all over it. And it was sick because it was stickers that like of stuff that I'd slowly accumulated over time. So even that, like, it's your personality. Like nobody's gonna have a board just like that because it's not
one of one.
You know what I'm saying, like, so
that's
it's custom to you. So
that's hard.
100%. What sort of stuff? Even so, you obviously into bike culture. Like you said, your dad had a like bike as well. Like was there any other influence that kind of got you into like biking culture?
Oh my days, that's PS2. My dad had MotoGP on like a little disc, sitting playing that. There was that in Scooby-Doo, but I'd always go for the MotoGP. And just, I don't know, I was like maybe 3, 4, like playing that in my old house. Like, I remember the TV was thicker, like, than oh my god, it was like a fridge, bro.
The size of this
that's what I'm saying. It was thick, but it still ran the game well. Graphics, like,
we don't talk about those.
But still, seeing like, I've been always like massively influenced by like motorsport, especially bikes, but like Gran Turismo, stuff like that as well.
Gran Turismo.
I like speed, man. I'm a bit of like an adrenaline junkie when it comes to it. So my mom and dad, they don't like that part. They don't like that
His
part
parents do, to be honest.
Yeah, true. But like, it's very free, and I think that's why I gravitated towards it so much. But even like the aesthetics, if you look at like MotoGP teams, and like their like safety gear, their leathers, their helmets, they're so bright. It's just beautiful, and like all the sponsors and stuff. That's one thing that I'd love to do one day, is like make a custom set of leathers, like as in like a one piece
like just full suit.
The full suit would be sick. That would be tough, but
because even like, so funny enough, you're talking about that. The other day I was watching a video about someone talking about like how a lot of motorsports incorporate a lot of crazy design and stuff. And even like Formula 1, I feel like is a really great example of that.
Like helmets.
Do you know what I mean? Like their stuff is very, it's obviously it's like sponsorships and all that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
but it's still like intentional. Like
Yeah.
the Mercedes one, for example, like how they have like their emblem all over plastered, like all the way going down and stuff,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
different colors and all that sort of
Literally,
stuff. So
literally.
I find that pretty fascinating because even me, I feel like I'm quite a big motorsports person. Not necessarily to watch, but more just like you said, the design aspect of it, or even just like the adrenaline, like
Yeah.
proper
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Red Bull, that type of vibe. So
Yeah.
yeah,
100%.
definitely. So obviously, like you said, you like to work with artists, right? And literally, as of today, you actually posted Len up in your black
Yes, sir.
black leather jacket, the 50 cal one.
Yes, sir.
So can you talk to us like how did that come about, and like do you already have like affiliations with them in the past and that sort of thing?
Nah, not in the past. I posted a video on my TikTok, like my personal, wearing the red set.
Yeah.
And someone commented on it. Oh, I could see Len in this, and I just commented back, "Well, get him in it."
Hey, fair enough, man.
And it was actually a stylist, and I was like, "Oh, fair."
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they said, "Check your DMs." They'd sent it to him.
Yeah.
They had like, you know, a little back and forth, but you know, he was more gravitating towards the black one, and I was like, it's, you know, at the moment it's a sample, like one of one.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's still like, I'd say it's a perfect sample. I don't need to sample it again.
Yeah.
So I was comfortable to send that, because like I've had people reach out, especially you know, about the red set, but
Yeah.
at the time I'd only had the sample piece, which, you know, it was still good, but there was little things that I wanted to change, so I wasn't trying to, like, you know, just spread that one about everywhere. But
Yeah.
the black one is like a iteration of the perfected red set, so
Yeah.
getting him in it just kind of made sense, especially for his like whole look at the moment. But yeah, it just made so much sense.
Yeah.
So, and it was nice as well, like seeing, you know, artists reach out and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's good. I would just, you know, try to build it from here, and see how many more we can get. So,
Yeah, no, that's the way to go in it. Like, and you're quite heavily present on like socials as well, like TikTok especially. You got what, 30K followers and stuff, for example. Like, talk us through about that. Like, was it intentional? It's just so shit. Is that like, was that intentional from you, or did it just kind of happen from you posting videos and stuff?
Yeah,
like that?
it just kind of happened.
Just
I wasn't like trying to like build anything like mad, but that now feels to me like it's you know, it's just kind of normal.
Yeah.
But I never had like the intention of being like, oh yeah, nah, I'm gonna
Should be
blow up.
big,
I'm
yeah,
gonna blow up. Like, I'm gonna be an influencer, because I'm
Yeah.
not really like an influencer. I can't lie. Like, I post maybe once a month, if that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so my content has become very like sporadic, but it's just stuff that is like, if I want to put it out, I'm gonna put it out.
Yeah,
Do you
you're
know
not
what I
really
mean?
diving
So,
into the fame. side of
yeah,
things,
yeah. But hey, if it gets there, I'm
Take it there,
gonna
take
be
it
like Kari. Like, I'll just be hiding for a year, and then like,
Just
come
drop
out
an
with like,
album, you know what I mean?
come out a
Drop
whole
full set,
collection.
yeah.
They say, oh my,
DVD to the world
yeah,
and everything.
12 different pieces, and they'll be like,
Where
where did he come
Bo's
from?
not been there for 6 years. What was he talking about?
Yeah.
Nah, fair enough. Even because I feel like even me, social something I'm trying to get planted in a lot more.
Yeah.
It's obviously how I got to where I am now, but it's still something that I feel like you said, like it can be very, very easy to fall into the trap of like doing it for virality, so doing it for the sake of the views and the likes. And don't get me wrong, those things, if you're trying to grow on social media, are somewhat important, but I think you should also be making content that you enjoy.
I think sometimes like the most natural stuff does the best. Like, it's some videos that like I've posted that I've never put like more than like it takes like 10 minutes to record. I've not even edited it. I've just kind of like done the TikTok like editing.
Just cut.
Yeah, and then I've posted it and it's done well. Like, and then you spend. People always say this, but then you go and spend like hours on like editing a piece, and you're like, oh, this is the one.
Oh yeah.
And it's like 100 views.
2 views.
And you're like, oh, okay.
I'll just go pack my
Yeah,
bags.
but then there's always that argument. People are like, yeah, but imagine 100 people like in a room.
Yeah. I think it's very easy to kind of like, so for context, I went to school with the people at like about 1.2 thousand people in my school, right? So like a fair amount of people, right? And sometimes I'll post a video and it'll do like 1,000 views, and I'm like, it's not really all that. But I'm thinking, wait, but imagine I was standing like at the top of my school, everyone in my school's watching me and saying, oh, like,
I
what
like
do you have
that.
to say? Yeah. I would then be like, flipping, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be starting my words and everything. So like, I think context is very much important. Like, even like you said, people actually like it. It's one thing to view it, but let's say like 200 out of that thousand people who say, "Oh, I actually really enjoy this stuff. I actually like this." That's a lot of people, bro. Do you know what I mean? That's a lot of people. You never know. Even same way, like how the line situation for you. You never know who's in those comments.
Yeah, literally.
Or who's in those likes. You know what I mean? So,
and the thing is, like, my brand is nowhere like near like 1,000. You know, I'm on like 300 around that like followers. So if something is seen at that level, you can imagine like as it grows how much that will grow as well.
For sure.
So it literally doesn't. I don't think it matters about the size of like a like page. Audience, because there's gonna be people that like it, and it's just a matter of time. Like that's the thing that I say every time. It's not like if, it's when. So if you're putting something out that is high quality and something that you actually like, because I'm not doing any of these like pieces for anyone else
other than yourself,
other than me, because like the first person that draws it and likes it is me. So if I see a drawing in my book and I go back to it in maybe like a couple months or like a week and I'm like I'll never make it. So I need to actually like it before I actually release it. So that's one thing as well why I like where like the stage I'm at as well, because it's slow. I'm able to like break down literally everything and release things that I really like.
It's like it's almost like it's just like a little project that only you're kind of really on right now. That sort of thing. So like until it gets to the skill that maybe later down the line, it's just you and only you coming up with designs, pushing them out, so on and so forth. I think like I think I struggle with something with that in the sense that like I like to do things quite fast. But then obviously, like you said, when you do things quite fast, it can end up being a case of like things might not go the way that you want them to, just because you're trying so hard to get it out fast, that you're not necessarily given the time to mature and to flourish in a way that I feel like sometimes some certain things need to. Do you know what I mean, in that sense? So 100% get that angle for sure. So obviously, like the brand is called Deathbed, right? What made you come up with the idea of Deathbed?
I mean, it's kind of dark, just in the sense that it's the one connecting factor of like all humans that we all die, right? Like it's kind of sad, but the meaning behind it, in terms of like you just try to do everything now, like get everything done so that when you're on your deathbed, you've got nothing to regret when you look back on your life. It's literally just that in its entirety. Like it's deeper than clothes, but I think it can, it translates to a lot other than just like wearing something. But it's nice that it is able to be on clothing, because it's like I want those pieces to be generational in terms of like a handbag that I've been making in the works of. I'd like that to be like a staple, so people can pass that through generations. And it doesn't matter if you're on your deathbed, someone else is going to take that and carry on the legacy of it. So that's kind of where that name stemmed from. And it's grown like arms and legs since I made the name. So I was a youngin when I thought of that. But it's definitely like developed as I've grown as well, and kind of it's even molded me in a new way as well, which is nice. So I feel like obviously death is not something that like everybody's comfortable or happy to talk about, obviously, but I think it's like you said, it's one of those things where it's like it was gonna happen to all of us, really. You know what I mean, like there's nothing we can really do about it. So it's like, why not celebrate it, or like at least embrace it, as opposed to make it this taboo thing that's kind of like, we don't really talk about it. Because like hiding from it only makes it like more of a problem when it happens. Do you know what I mean?
100.
But I think as well, like it being the sole name of the brand is kind of like when people hear it, they go, I don't know about it. Literally, but it gives you the opportunity to kind of explain it, which is nice, because with some names it's very, very easy. It's like the name of the designer or the name of this, and that's very easy to digest. But when you get faced with something that is quite, I'd say, morbid,
it's memorable.
That's a nicer way of putting it. Then it just allows conversation, and that's one thing that I do really cherish, is like open conversation. And starting designing has definitely brought me a lot of conversations that I probably wouldn't have had if I hadn't done this path. So it's just mad. And sorry, this is like an extension from it. Getting to this point has been mad, because we spoke briefly on COVID. I was gonna do photography in coming out of school, so I'd bought big old Canon 90D my pockets were crying. But I was like, you know what, it's an investment.
Yeah.
And then the apprenticeship course that I was going to be doing, it was down in Manchester, fully shut because of COVID. Yeah. So I didn't move down there, which was the plan initially. So I would have been in Manchester. I didn't pursue photography because I was like, well, the stuff that I wanted to do was like product shooting. So I wasn't really getting in contact with anyone when everything is shut down.
Yeah, everything's shut.
And then I was kind of brainstorming in ways that if I couldn't draw, I would be cooked. Like if I'm so real, if I couldn't draw or do anything like creative, I'd be
bad news for you,
bro. So I was looking at art and being like, right, where can I go with this? And I looked at my like wardrobe one day and I was like, like, why? This is boring. Yeah, it's like, why could I not just go and build a wardrobe?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where like the idea started. And it's like I said, like with the name itself, everything's just kind of expanded from there. Like my understanding of garments, my understanding of like fashion in itself, it's just like it's been a really long educational process. But I still didn't go to school for it.
Yeah.
So teaching all of it to myself has been like a long way around it. I think I wouldn't do it any other way though, because I understand it in terms that I know.
I feel like in such a deep way as well, in the sense that like you've had to actually intentionally go out and learn how to do certain things, things that might even be hard to even find out how to even do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think you get a good understanding of it.
So, but it's like when people now come to me for questions, it's always like quite an honor to answer them, because it's like, damn, I went and taught myself, but now people like see me and can ask me questions about something that I knew nothing about before. So it's really nice. It is nice.
See, I feel like what you've just said there, I feel like I get imposter syndrome. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, really?
Because it's one of those things for me, like, because for me it's just so like I've just sat and learned, but it doesn't feel, I'm not looking at it as I've sat and learned it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Some people come to ask me, I'm like, why are you asking me? Because
I
feel like I know
the thing is, you have to kind of give yourself grace in a point where you used to be them, like
in
the position where you knew absolutely nothing. And I think imposter syndrome is definitely something I used to like suffer with, but it gets to a point where I was like, this is holding me back more than it's growing me. So why am I actually like thinking or limiting myself to not being a designer because I can't say, oh, I can go and stitch like a dress or like a wedding gown by hand. Like there's so many people that have different views on designers and or videographers, photographers, but if you yourself don't believe that you are one, who else is? Yeah, exactly. Like you're not going to convince anyone else because you don't even believe it. So you have to have that conviction in yourself and be like, yeah, no, like I'm the shit.
Yeah, I can do it. I was actually having a conversation with a friend about this, and he was saying that like, so he's a stylist, right? So he was saying that like he doesn't feel like he can call himself a stylist if he goes out to places that aren't like, let's say, within our own communities. And I was asking him, okay, fine, but why is it you feel that way? And he was just saying because he's not done styling on like a set or like. Then I was like, at the end of the day though, it doesn't really matter because if you call yourself a stylist and you believe you have the capabilities of being a stylist, would I be right in saying that? He said, yeah. I said, well, there you go then. Yeah. At the end of the day, you're only, that label is only for yourself, really, for the most part.
Yeah.
Like, you can go out and say that you're whatever you want to be, and if you have the belief to say, okay, yeah, I am, then who can say none the wiser? Who's none the wiser?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I 100% get that. 100% get that. I think even imposter syndrome is kind of one of those things hard to shake, but like you said, I think even the more that you do whatever it is that your field that your specialty is, the more I feel like you start to get good and start to be, you know what?
Yeah.
Your confidence builds to the point where it's you can't even deny it for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't even deny yourself of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
and imagine like you had that belief before you even had the
skills to even back it. Yeah. So
you know what I mean? So it's like when people say you gotta be delusional, I kind of hear it.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that fully now. Because in this day and age, everything is so saturated due to the fact we have such like insane technology and information everywhere all the time. So anyone can go out and learn something and do what you do. But if you don't believe that you're the one that's gonna, change things or like make an impact, who else?
It's hard to then kind of even bring that action to drive yourself to even do that.
Yeah,
if you don't believe in yourself.
literally. Yeah, you have to drive yourself before anyone else is behind you. Like, you know, so
100%, no, 100%. How do you feel like you get drive actually? Like, I say days where or like seasons where you're not really feeling like, for example, the 2 years you took off. Like, what would you say like brought you back to deathbed?
To be fair, a lot of like my best work is coming like the times where I've not been like happy, if that makes sense. Right. It's kind of weird, but when I'm like down, some of the best artistic ventures happen for me. Yeah. When even if it's not like clothing, but like even just like writing in terms of that as well. It's all like a stepping stone until I get to a point where I'm like, okay, cool, let me like actually like
put this on paper
and get this shit done. So if I don't like have those lows, I will never like appreciate as much of the highs. Yeah. So it's just that balance. I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair. So you're actually not the only person to say it. I think, who was I talking to the other day? I think they were saying the same thing, that like they feel like when they're down is actually when they get their most amount done in terms of like their creative outlets and stuff like you said. So I guess it's one of those things, because I feel like for me, like I'm more of like it's not necessarily my mood but my environment. Yeah. I think my environment for me is what can make or break whether I feel like, which is why COVID, for example, the fact that I was at home and I just didn't really have any like external pressures. Yeah. It just freed me to be like, well, I can just do what I want. I don't have anything like, I'm at home, I don't have any rent to pay, I don't have any bills to pay. Yeah. I can just sit and do my creative outlet and I can be at peace. That I mean.
Environment definitely is a massive impact. Yeah. Like I enjoy being around creative people as well. Yeah. So, and it doesn't happen like very often because I'm still working alongside this. So when I do have the like time to spend with people that are, doing their thing creatively as well, it's eye-opening, because you're like, oh, it's not just me. Yeah. And you can then again draw like inspiration from those guys, and even not even like draw inspiration sometimes, just sitting in that like that bubble, that energy is like, it's nice. You're like, okay, cool, these lot are on it, let me start. Like you go home and then you're like straight to the laptop or like in the sketchbook,
because like you're seeing, like, even if you're seeing them doing their own thing, it inspires me. Oh, okay, like that's pretty, even if it's not anything related to what
exactly it doesn't have to be like anything similar, but it's still just showing work. Yeah. And I think that's like the main thing. Yeah,
I think even like, because someone's asking me like, how do you get creative friends or like be around creative circles? And I'm like, to be honest, like I feel like I'm quite fortunate in the sense that like since I came to uni, I've just been surrounded by creative friends in general. Like Sinai, for example, I met this guy when I was literally like second year of uni or something. Even Lola, a really good friend of mine, I grew up with her more or less, and she's been a singer, for example, so since we were young. So and she obviously like drama, like she went to drama school and stuff, and stuff like that. So I've always been surrounded by people who are kind of push more of that angle than like any other angle, that's thing. So
do you think that was one of the biggest like benefits of uni for you, like the kind of crowd you were surrounded by
in terms of uni? 100%. I think in uni, especially because I left my house, like my parents were in Edinburgh, I grew up in Edinburgh, and I left to come here. Yeah. Even that in itself, the fact that I was then here by myself, forces me to kind of go out and actually put myself out there. Yeah, true. A lot of times put myself out there in spaces I didn't even notice at the time, but spaces that were more creative. Right. So I'd be going to stuff like, I don't know, like Peach, for example, where there's quite a lot of creatives and stuff. I mean, obviously you're not there. You're not there to meet people, innit? I don't know what some of you lot are there for, innit? But yeah, you're not going there to meet people like that. But like, just so happen to be that, oh, your photographers are there, or there's models there, there's people who do da. Or even just being like present on social media, like my 7BG page. Like I was posting a lot on there. Bumped into Zyme, for example. Yeah. That sort of thing. Lewis, these sort of guys. So yeah, I think I was always putting myself out there to a point where like either I would find them or they'd find me just by that. But I think if you're someone who, let's say you didn't really grow up in that sort of element and you've not really been active on socials or even that sort of thing, I can see why it's quite difficult for you to maybe even find where are those spaces where
exactly.
people are like that. Generally.
You kind of have to like put your foot in the door and like ram.
You say, yo,
like
who's in here, man?
Yeah, you're pushing your way in, because it's not like you've really had the access to it before. And I feel like that's kind of how anyone in Scotland feels about like London scene, because no one knows you 100%, like 100%, from Adam. They don't like they just if you've got something going now, you're having to go yo, like,
yo,
let me in. Yeah.
Let me in.
Yeah, let me in, please.
100%. And I think like that's something I always try and reiterate to people that like, don't get me wrong, like even if you're making noise up here and you're doing good, all that is great. I'm not here to say that's not great, but just know we are still in a bubble on our own.
Yeah.
The second you leave here, some of these things don't translate when you go to Manchester, when you go to
like
London, when you go to US.
Big fish in a little pond.
I'm saying like stuff that's big here is not necessarily as big as it is up here in other places. So you got to put your pride aside to say, look, when you go to these places, you're gonna have to sell yourself. You're gonna have to be like, by the way, this is who I am. This is what I do.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, they're not gonna know. Do you know what I mean? They're not gonna know who you are.
True.
So,
yeah.
Because I think.
True.
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say like about pushing pride aside and like not having like an ego. I think that's a massive thing. Like pushing like that away. In terms like you somewhat need a bit of an ego.
Yeah.
Like by
in
backing
the right
yourself,
in the right
like
areas,
saying, this is me.
Yeah.
But having an inflated one where you're like, oh, they should know who I am.
Yeah, going down there thinking,
oh,
why don't you know who I am?
Yeah, literally. And it's like every time, like I've been to different cities. Like I was in Brum in London, and anytime like I get noticed in the street, it's like it's humbling. It's more like holy, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because you're never going out in the thought that someone's gonna be like,
you
know that guy? Yeah.
Smithy?
Yeah, and getting like free chicken at Nando's or something.
Giving black cards at Nando's and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
But nah, like that in itself, is kind of mad. But taking it back to up here, you would like, I don't know, people might expect it to happen.
Yeah,
it happens down south more for me than it does in Scotland.
Like to be spotted down south.
Yeah. But yeah, you do just kind of have to push like ego aside and just kind of lay yourself out and be like, bro, this is what I've got going on.
Yeah, that's what I'm on. Even me as well. I feel like there's been times where like I feel like for me it's Edinburgh, it's like it's more up here, but there's been times where it's like it's almost in a way I'm like, how do you even know me?
Yeah.
Like there's been times where people be like, oh, like I've seen your stuff. You're I'm saying, but
who?
Yeah, but like I'm like that's great, but like. You're not even in the scenes that I'm in.
Yeah, true.
I'm surprised that people even somehow.
But that's just the reach, and that just shows like if you're putting out quality stuff, your videography and like everything that you've created so far is reaching different places that you don't even know about.
100%.
Do you know
100%.
like?
And you wouldn't know until you put yourself out there.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're in these spaces, and then someone does come and say hello, and you're like, whoa, that's mad.
Saying, yeah.
Wow,
I don't do that.
Wow.
21 cars. 100.
Yeah. Literally. It's mad.
But yeah, man, I feel like we've talked about a few different things, so we can probably just wrap up there. But let's say someone who wants to get into that, like let's say someone's out there, they got an idea, not necessarily someone's deathbed, but someone of their own. What's like one of the piece of advice you'd say to them? Okay, like this is something that I feel like would be beneficial for you to know if they were to watch this.
I think a lot of people start now without a why. You have to like actually look into why you're doing something.
Yeah.
So if you start there, you start like why you want to do it and like what you want to do around it.
Yeah.
That's a very strong like foundation to build off of. Is why you're doing something, because even when you get into those periods where you don't see the return, or you might a manufacturer's messed up an order and you've lost like half your money, you then go back to your why and you're like, okay, but why am I doing this? And then you've got that like solid base where you're like, okay, cool, I can go and push on from here.
Yeah, let's go back to basics.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll always have like 2 feet grounded if you start with a solid why.
Good stuff. But yeah, cool. It was good having a conversation, man. And hopefully we'll hear from you soon.
Yes, sir.
Sooner than. See you later.
Easy.